All right, we should be live right now. Hey y'all. If anyone's watching, good evening. It is over here right now. It is the 26th of November, and it's 10 p.m. So it's kind of a late stream. And I'm probably gonna go on for like an hour, maybe a little bit more than that, probably. Yeah, have had a fairly okay day at work. Yesterday was extremely busy, and I was up till fairly late working on stuff. So I wasn't really able to stream yesterday, but today I think we should be able to set off from where we kind of stopped on the last stream. So okay, so right now I think one thing. So I was thinking about some stuff offline, and hang on while my screen kind of goes dark for a second there. Yeah, okay. So I was thinking about some stuff offline, just kind of trying to understand the design of how we're approaching this. I feel like we kind of need to revisit some aspects of this. We kind of need to figure out, like, okay, what exactly is going to be the interaction from the end of the user, from the end of the app, right? So once we have that clear, we can kind of take that and realize like what data we're going to have when we actually try and construct any particular object that we are trying to construct. Like, for instance, right, we need the transaction. What's the most bare bones set of fields that can go into that? So the most bare bones thing that I can think of is literally just the amount. That's kind of all we need, right? Like, for every transaction, all we need is an amount. We don't even need to know, especially if we have a comment, we don't actually need to know who the counterparty is. We don't need to know, like, we don't need that information from the notification, from the SMS or the email. We don't actually need that information. What we need is just the amount. We just need the amount, and all the other data, all the other information, we can technically add on our own. And of course, we could, as the user, they should also have the functionality to kind of have, go into a specific screen in the app and add a transaction of their own into any category, into any account, right? Like, I should just be able to say, oh yeah, I never got an SMS for that. I never got a notification for that. So I should still be able to go and record it. I should still be able to say that, yeah, I do remember having a purchase, or I can verify with my bank. Maybe I do, remember having a purchase of a certain amount on a specific day, and I can go there and I can add the amount. I can just sort of add it in the app and go like, okay, yeah, so this, I made a purchase worth 100 rupees at this particular store, and I bought this particular thing, right? I can just add a comment over there. I don't need to have the rest of the fields. The rest of the fields don't really matter. The only thing that matters is the comment, right? We don't actually care about any of the rest of the stuff. So when we think about that, it kind of becomes clear that we don't have to worry about most of the other stuff. Like, very specifically, that kind of idea that we had, that we're going to have some text coming into our notification, and we we supply a parser, and it goes through a module and comes out as a transaction. Like, this is mostly wrong, because the text may not actually contain most of this data. In fact, all of these should be really nullable, other than the comment, obviously. The account should not be null either, because we do have to register a transaction to the thing. The timestamp won't be null because that's auto generated. But honestly, pretty much anything else which comes in from the SMS, whatever comes in from the format of the message itself, should be nullable. We shouldn't really care about that, right? So we should be able to set that data later on when the user wants to go there and kind of go like, oh yeah, okay, I just want to add this data into this field, the counterparty, they want to edit it. All of this data should be editable, really. The amount, the counterparty, except the timestamp, right? Because except the timestamp, I guess. But all the other information really should be editable. The timestamp is gonna be, we will keep two timestamps probably. Like, one would be the time at which this transaction was actually created and recorded. The other would be when the purchase occurred, because that is like a little bit of data. So let me just like pull up one of my SMSs here, right, on my phone, and I'll just sort of read out the content. Let's hope that there's nothing sensitive on it. I don't think there should be. For the most part, it's just like, yeah, whatever. I made a purchase at some seller on a specific date at a specific time. Okay, so okay, no, that's from Paytm. That's not from the bank. Okay, yeah. So, transaction of rupees 146 has been made on a Quota credit card, and that is the last four digits as the identifier on 26-NOV. That's 26 November at Swiggy. Swiggy is the seller. It's it's a food thing. Also, before I forget, happy Thanksgiving to anyone who celebrates it. Today is the 26th. It's Thanksgiving, I believe. I mean, yeah. So the New York folks at work have a holiday today. So I'm assuming today is Thanksgiving and it's not some other day. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. So anyway, 26th November at Swiggy, available credit limit is with an amount, which is the amount of the credit limit that I have left on my card. But none of this information is guaranteed, because if we're dealing with different kinds of accounts, we may not actually get most of this. Like, we may not get the credit limit, we may not get the remaining balance, we may not get a bunch of other things, right? But we should still be able to extrapolate that with existing information, and we should allow the user to correct it if it is wrong, and we should have it auto corrected with the next incoming message, for instance, right? If that happens. So okay, so back to the drawing board, really, right? So we are gonna pull it back, and we are kind of gonna mock a few user scenarios. So that's kind of what I'm gonna title it, right? So I'm just gonna move my chair a little bit. So let me reposition my mic to be closer to my mouth. Okay, so yeah, because my I have, with this new mic setup, since it's on the left side now, and that should be on the, I mean, that's the left for me. It's not a mirrored camera. That's the left. So it should, yeah, it's on my left. So essentially, I have my right hand side kind of free for this kind of stuff, so I don't have to keep the tablet PC on my lap anymore. The graphics tablet, I'm sorry, but yeah, on my lap anymore, which is really nice. It's it's a step back to my old setup, which is a lot better. Anyway, so hopefully my audio is still clear from this angle, and there isn't like any noise or anything like that. Anyway, so we can map out a sort of a user interaction. Let me just hide this. Yeah, we don't need that. Oh, that gives us a lot of extra space to work with. Okay. User interactions, right? So let's just map it out from the start. So we have, this is going to be our app window. Is there a thing which allows me to draw rectangles? No, I can only draw, yeah, that's sad. Okay. Maybe there is actually shapes. I see this. I see you. Blue rectangle. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, this is fairly sad. Oh, that shit, that rotates it. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Can I not move this? Oh, yeah, I can. Okay, it's just a weird set of interactions. Okay, whatever. Right, so let's just assume this is our, yeah, let's just assume that this is the app. Oh, I can draw on it, thank God. Okay. That was my next concern. Like, I wasn't sure if I could draw on it or not. And let's just say, like, essentially, okay, so one of the interactions is really going to be when an SMS arrives, right? So you have an SMS coming in, and that's going to trigger a notification, which is going to pop up from the top. And the notification is going to have a comment box, right? And it's gonna also specify the amount. So let's just say it was like 160 rupees, right? And that's the rupee symbol, the Indian rupee symbol. It doesn't matter. I think we can sort of make adjustments for this. For the most part, this is just going to be some text that has been extracted, and that's going to be a part of the pattern that we will define, like the user will define, in order to extract data from this. So yeah, so what's going to happen is it's going to come in, and this is a flow after the pattern has been defined, etc. We will go through one which happens at the point when you need to define the pattern. So it'll sort of display a rupees 160 as the amount. Maybe the design of the notification will be different. It doesn't matter. Right now, at least. And then there's going to be a bunch of different icons which allow you to specify which category, right? So food, transport, shopping, whatever, right? Other. Okay, so you're gonna have a bunch of icons which will sort of define the different categories under which you are going to make, classify this purchase. So the comment box, and this is the thing, right? The user types a comment into it and clicks one of these, and that saves it as part of this category within the account that is determined from this, essentially from this, right? So maybe we will have to add that information as well into the notification, right? So the notification will include that data as well. Hang on, let me just, can I erase this? Shit. Can I make this smaller? No, okay. That puts it back to the line thing. God, I don't understand how this works. Scroll, control scroll. Okay. I've been missing this. Okay, there it is. So, okay. This is, yeah, whatever, 160. And there's also going to be the account, right? So it's going to tell you which account it is. So it's going to be like your credit card, right? For instance. And this is again going to be configurable, like the user can name their accounts or whatever, right? So it's going to tell you which account, it's going to tell you what's the amount that has been reduced. So it's going to be minus 160, probably displaying it in red or something. And if it's like, if it's been credited in, it's going to display it in green, whatever, right? So it's going to display this, and the user types a comment, taps something, and that's alone enough to register the transaction, right? So that's one aspect of it. What about actually creating the patterns themselves? What happens? Oops. What happens when the first SMS comes in is my question, right? I should probably keep that on silent. Yeah. So what happens when the first SMS comes in? What happens when we don't actually have any patterns defined? And of course, in that case, like it's not actually going to trigger any notifications at all because we haven't really specified how the app is supposed to look for these SMSs in the first place. It's not going to read every single SMS of yours. Well, it kind of is, but it's just going to match them against a pattern. And you will be able to you should be able to specify filters on probably the sender or something like that, right? Because your bank mostly sends you SMSs over 1 or 2 different communication channels. Mine sends it over 3, I think. I don't know. I have to check. But the point is, there should be a way for you to filter out what SMSs you want the app to read and pass through these sets of filters that it has, and then it just sends it through each different filter, and the first one that matches in a sense is going to be the one that it says, oh yeah, okay, this is from this account, it's of this amount, and whatever, right? So the moment it finds a filter that perfectly matches this particular SMS body content, it's going to go like, yeah, that's the one, right? So that's kind of what we need to define, like how do we do that? So okay, I am gonna add a new page for that. So I think, yeah, I don't think I need to correct anything on this page. Let's just say that, okay, so let's just say that we have, switch back to white. Let's just say that we have an app screen, right? And we kind of want to define, like, I want to be able to paste. So we'll just start with this kind of interaction, right? And probably in the future we'll make this more user friendly, something like that. But for now, what I have in mind is that we have essentially a let's call that a new filter screen, right? Maybe filter is not the right word, but whatever, right? So this is the one where we define essentially a new pattern, right, for the content of the SMS. So what we can do here is we can just sort of for the initial release, right, v0.1.0, right, for the very initial release, I'm just going to make it such that you can paste in the text and you can modify parts of it into a regular expression, right? So if you don't know what a regular expression is, don't worry about it. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But the point is, it's just going to be a regex. So in this case, let me just type out the exact information, and we will just specify we will just specify an example pattern for it, right? So, whoops, why is it not? Hello? Okay. Windows is weirdly buggy at times with some stuff. Okay. So we're sort of going to specify, okay, so I'm just going to type out that exact same SMS content, right? So transaction of rupees amount, right, has been made on Kotak credit card, and this is going to be the what do you call it, the it's just the card identifier, so it's just like XX1234, whatever the last four digits, right? On, yeah, because I'm not really sure but if I should type the actual last four digits of my card on stream, so I'm not going to do that. So a date, which is 26 November, and of course, okay, let's just write out the item as well, right? So except for any actual identifying information, I'll type out everything else. So at the seller, right? So seller, and it's in all caps in mine, but I don't think that's mandatory. Yeah, that's not mandatory. Yeah, we do have some where it's the seller is in mixed caps. I think this was just the particular seller which I'm talking about in this case was Swiggy, which is a food delivery app here. I just got my dinner a few hours ago. But the point is, like, they must have registered their name in all caps, so that's the reason why that's why that's there. But anyway, so available credit limit is, and interestingly, this doesn't have a the rupees marker on it. I don't know why, but it just has an amount directly. So I'm just going to write 1234.56, right? So this is the way this works, right? This is the way this works. I'm pretty sure that we will have in this specific case, I'm pretty sure that if there was a partial rupee transaction, like 0.25 or something like that, we would actually see that here. I can't find an example of it by scrolling through my SMSs, but I'm almost completely certain that would be the case. Anyway, so if we can take this as our SMS, if we have to convert this into a regular expression, it's going to be fairly simple, right? So this is something, whoops, I just dropped something. Okay, that's okay. I can pick that up later. So this is something fairly basic, like, but for the average user, they're not going to be able to, I certainly don't want my mom to be writing regexes, right? This is just for the initial release, just so that we can kind of get an app working, right? And it will still be useful to some people, those who understand regular expressions. But for the most part, it's going to be fairly simple, right? And what it's going to be is we can just take this exact text. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it again, right? And we're going to convert parts of it into a regex, right? So I'm going to say that this is going to be the amount, right? So I'm going to group that into a new group. So every new group in regex has like this particular, symbol, like, it's just round brackets, right? And inside this is going to be essentially any collection of numbers and dots, right? So it's just going to be a collection of 0 to 9 and a dot, which I have to escape because with a backslash, because it's if I just put a dot in there, it means something else entirely. And this means there's more than one. There's one or more, right? Yeah, this means there's one or more. So you won't have a pattern where this is completely empty. At least I hope you shouldn't have that pattern. So you should have at least one in here, for example, right? There should be at least something. So this is the regex, which will capture it, right? And has been made on the card. And I don't really care about all this. This can remain exactly the same. It's just filler text as far as I'm concerned. This would be the date, right? This would be the date. So in this case, I am gonna just do this, and I am gonna specify that it is gonna be basically any set of characters, right? It's gonna be, it's gonna be any set of characters. I'm gonna specify that, and seller is also fine because, like, Oh, no. I do actually care about the seller, don't I? Yeah. So in this case, again, I'm going to be specifying that this is going to be any set of characters, right? The reason, of course, I have more specific regexes that I can write for this, but for now, I don't really care. So the amount for it's going to be a number and another number, one or more. So it's usually going to be something like 0 to 9, and it's going to be either 1 or 2. So this is again a 0 to 9, and the first number may or may not be there. So that's, I think, a question mark is 0 or 1 of something. I have to check. And there's a hyphen, because I'm pretty sure that when it's like 9th November or something, it's just going to be 9 Nov. I don't think my bank actually writes the 0 at the start of it. In any case, this regular expression will work. And the second one is just going to be a set of 3 letters, right? And so it's going to be like, yeah, it's going to be like 3 letters. So that's A to Z, A to Z. It's capital or small letters, and there are going to be 3 of them, right? So I'm pretty sure that if I run this as part of regex 101, so let's do that, right? But I'm just saying that this would work. This just matches any characters. It would work. It's fine, but let's just assume that, it doesn't. So that's our regular expression. And November, I'm sorry, 9th November, for instance. Yes, see, it's a full match. It matches the entire thing, right? And if I put more letters after it, it doesn't match anymore, because we're looking for 3 letters exactly. And if I try even 9 November, it's a full match, right? 26th November, it's a full match. All of it works, right? So yeah, this is a regex that will work for us. I think, if I want a more complicated regex, I can do that. So there we go, right? So that's the date at seller, and the seller can actually be anything. It's any set of characters. It just ends with a full stop, and then again, we have the available credit limit amount, right? So we want to capture this as well. So this is essentially just going to be the exact same format as that. So we're going to copy that, and we are actually all the way from here, because we want to capture that group, and we are going to paste that there, right? So this is fine. This is our regular expression, and this full stop at the end has to be escaped again. So we're just going to escape that. Because the dot itself is a symbol that is there in regular expressions. It's parsed, so we kind of want to avoid that, because that a dot just means any character, right? Any character once. So by just not escaping this, it would match any character at the end of this. We kind of want to make sure that it's a full stop. So sure, we're just going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this regular expression right here into this regex tester, and we are going to copy this, and we're going to make sure that it all works, right? So there we go. It's a full match all the way from start to end, which is fantastic. But let's see what the groups are, right? So the different groups which have been captured by these round brackets, the, parentheses. Yeah. So the different groups which have been captured by the parentheses are: group 1 is the amount, which is exactly what we want. Group 2 is the date, which is again exactly what we want. And group 3 is the seller, and group 4 is the available credit limit. See, awesome, fantastic. We have basically written a simple regex to parse the SMS, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because initially, right, since, let's just go for a more technical initial release, we are not going to go and build the entire, sort of pattern generator that we want, which would be a lot more user-friendly and all that. But, it's just a lot of work to start off. So instead, I'm just going to build something which allows us to write this regex in. So I can paste in an SMS just like this, and I can transform it into a regex just like this, and I can essentially save that as a filter, right? And of course, I can have some other sort of, some other filters as well, which would explain that this should only be run when the sender is among a specific set, right? So I can probably have a text field there, which would allow me to write, because for me, the sender of this particular SMS comes from a sort of, I don't know, I don't really understand how caller ID works really anymore with businesses and all that, but this is what shows up as the sender of the SMS. It's literally just this, right? For me, it's my bank, Kotak Bank. So this is the center of the SMS, right? So you'll see a lot of commercial entities, at least this is how it works in India. You'll see a lot of commercial entities where, it doesn't show up the sender as a number. It instead shows up as some sort of an identification code. Not really sure what these are. But the point is, I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that this is something that we can read off of the Android API for SMSs. We can find out who the sender was. We can get this sort of code, and we can use that to filter in the app and say that when this filter applies, when you get an SMS from this particular sender, at that time, process this filter and use that to generate these groups that we will use to generate the transaction that we want to actually save, right? Whew, okay. So that was a lot. So let's do that. So let's walk through a complete interaction, because I think that really helps you to see what other pieces you have to think about, because often what happens is that you start writing some software and then at some point you kind of end up with, okay, I don't really know what I'm doing anymore. So yeah, can I select all with this? Yes, fantastic. Okay, cool. So let's just clear that, because that was kind of a mess, right? So oh, fantastic. Okay. Increase the grid size. Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, this looks good. Okay. So I'm gonna use this to sort of be a little more precise about the way and I immediately fuck it up. Okay. Wow. I am terrible at this. Okay. So I can't draw a straight line. Okay, not while my arm is literally stretched across the fucking table. Okay, it's like, because my mouse is here, my keyboard is here, I have no place to kind of keep this graphics tab. I'm gonna move my chair. One second. Okay. So yeah, much more comfortable position to draw in, and let's go. So essentially, I still can't draw a straight line. Holy shit, I'm so bad at this. I'm so ridiculously bad at this. I don't know. Is this the baseline for drawing a... Oh, okay, fantastic. That one came out better. So, you know what? I'm not gonna fix that one. Fuck it. So, anyway, this is my phone screen. It took me an embarrassingly long time to draw what is essentially a very shaky rectangle, but okay, this is my phone screen. And we are gonna have... Okay, so yeah, through some screen, right? You can define like a new filter, and that's going to take you to this screen, and where you're going to have a box which allows you to type in this regex. So I'm just going to type regex into the box, right? So once you do that, you have a button that says save, and you also have probably below save, because for the most part, we can just run this. I'm pretty sure we can afford to run something like this on all incoming SMSs. I don't think we have to actually filter by sender, because this is really not going to be computationally expensive, especially for a single SMS of like 100 characters or something like that, right? It's really not going to be computationally expensive at all. So we can afford to run this on literally every single SMS that comes in on the phone. That should be fine. But, just in case you actually want to, I don't know, want to have some extra, because see, the thing is, the content of the SMS, at least in this case, gives you the identifier. So even if you have multiple credit cards with the same bank, they won't have these last 4 digits being the same. So you should be able to find some data inside the SMS itself, which will allow you to distinguish which account this is supposed to go to. Holy shit. Okay. So I completely forgot the fact that it's not just the fact that we need to save the regex. We also need to specify where this data is supposed to go, right? So we have specified, the regex, and that's supposed to tell us the different set of capturing groups. Okay. Can we, how difficult would it be to identify how many capturing groups are there in a particular? We might have to specify an example SMS as well to sort of run it on and pull out all the different capturing groups. Yeah, that might make sense, right? Because I'm pretty sure that we can actually run the regex library on a particular body of text, and it will tell us how many groups have been captured at the end of it. So we should be able to, like, there is, like, I'm pretty sure capturing groups is like an array which has a particular length, uh, which gets generated at runtime. So we can actually display that and display to the user, which allows them to sort of tweak their regex and get the right combination that, okay, this is the data that's actually going to be saved. There is a bug flying around. Goddamn mosquitoes. Anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense, right? So we need to have more than this. We need to have more than a regex. What we need to have is a regex, and we also need to specify an example SMS, right? An example text, notification text, right? For the time being, I'm just going to call it SMS, but understand that this is not just limited to SMSs. We could, in theory, define a very similar kind of regular expression for something that comes in through email as well. We could just apply the same sort of thing even over there, because at the end of the day, all we want is the actual text from it. And while the API to actually get the text out is going to differ, and so we sort of need to define this differently for, different clients as such. For the most part, we can reuse some logic. We will try and reuse as much logic as we can. Whatever we can generalize, we will generalize. So, okay, so we have an example SMS that we have to provide, and that will kind of tell us what the different capturing groups are. So captured data, and that's going to be group 1 is going to have, in this case, what was it again? The amount, right? So group 1 is going to be that 146.25. Group 2 is going to be the date, which is 26 November, and blah blah blah, right? So it's gonna tell us what this data is, and now we can kind of take this stuff. We can kind of take this stuff, and we can specify a way to, okay, one thing immediately comes up as an issue to me right now is the fact that this message literally just has 26 November, which is not actually a date we can convert into a full date, because we also require the year. And for some reason, my bank strips out the year data, right? And of course, this is again data which is supposed to be somehow written by, should we just omit the date information for now? Like, when we save it in a transaction, right? This is an expense manager. We really need to know what the date was. For one, of course, we're going to have the timestamp, which is going to record exactly when the transaction was created, like when the SMS came in or something like that. When you get the notification pop up, it's kind of going to, actually, we should record that transaction time exactly when the notification comes up, and not when, because I, as a user, I might accidentally ignore that notification or swipe it off or something like that, and I might just, if I swipe it off without doing anything, it should assume some defaults. It should take that amount and still store it and allow the user to edit it later. But the point is, if I don't swipe it off and I just leave it there to sit in my, what do you call it, the notification window, the, have no idea what that's called. The pull down, right, for the notifications, the notification set, the list. If I just let it sit in the list for a day or 2 days or 3 days, and I only notice it after that, because trust me, that is a very real thing that happens. I'm pretty sure I have notifications on my phone right now which have not been touched in months, a long time. Yeah, an embarrassingly long amount of time. So the point is, like, if we have, so the point is, if we have like a notification that has just been sitting inactive for a while, and then the user goes and sort of adds in the comment and saves the transaction, in that case, the transaction time should not be recorded as the time when the user actually saved it. Maybe that information is useful, I don't know, but it should be saved as the time when the notification actually came in, because that's really when we got information about this purchase happening. And You can't always expect the person who uses the app, especially if that person is me. You can't always expect them to just respond to the notification immediately. That's not something that a lot of people do. So okay, so in that case, yeah, I think maybe we should just skip the date for now, right? But the point is, we can still add a capturing group for it. We just have to ignore the data that comes out of it. That's fine, right? So maybe we can add that data to the comment. Who knows, right? So let's just see like what information we want to place where. And the thing is, okay. So the thing is, we have, yeah. So 3 is gonna be the seller, and 4 is going to be your balance, which in this case is 1234.56. It's going to be the available balance, right? And these are just the captured groups. It's just raw data. These are all just strings, okay? Essentially just string form, all of them. Like the code at this point of time will not really know that this is an amount, that this is a balance. It won't know any of the stuff. But we should be able to define how we build a transaction out of this, right? So transaction details. I understand that this is kind of going, let's just put 3 dots in here and start sort of a new one over here, right? So the transaction details, holy shit, okay, my handwriting is horrendous in this mode. Okay, so the transaction details where we specify, so we still need this data at least. We need the amount at the very minimum, right? We need the amount and we need the account, right? Which account we're going to map it to. So the account will be a drop down, which will let us select like which account we want to map it to in case this filter is triggered, right? In case this pattern, this regular expression is triggered. If this filter works, if this filter matches, right? If the filter matches what SMS comes in, which is the account that you actually want to save this to. And the account creation screen will be like a separate thing. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be an identifier, really. It's just like, it's going to have a name and maybe a description that you can add to it and some other stuff, right? And we'll probably expand the sort of shit you can do with that. Like, we'll probably expand all sorts of shit, right? Like we'll probably keep something which allows you to pull out expense curves or whatever. I don't fucking know. Okay, so yeah, I mean just statistics, right? What I mean is just statistics for an account, but all of that stuff is secondary for now. We're just focusing on the persistence, just capturing information and persisting it somewhere, or at least like getting that information out and printing it in front of the user's face. That's just it, right? Very basic, very minimal. Let's not even think about data visualization and pulling out all of the nuances, the balances and all that stuff. All of that will come later. For now, it's just the very basic stuff. We're trying to store this information, hopefully in a manner that makes it exportable, that we can actually kind of, take and pull out and make interesting stuff out of. So we're just gonna go with the very basics. So we want to specify like how the amount is to be noted, probably even the currency, right? So whatever currency you expect this to be in. So in this case, I am gonna select INR within either a text box or a drop down or something like that. Maybe it's just gonna be a text box, right? So in the currency, I can probably even write the rupee symbol if I have it in Unicode. I can write the dollar symbol, or I can even write a 3-letter code like INR or USD or something like that, right? So that's gonna be something else, right? But the point is, yeah, so it's going to have a currency, it's going to have amount account. Yeah, the timestamp and all that is obvious. Maybe we can have like a comment prefill, right? So the comment in this, maybe we can specify that we want the second one. So what we're going to do here is the amount. We're just going to write, like the user in this case is just going to write $1 because that's the first capturing group. So it's going to target this one, right? I'm just thinking of something simple, right? So okay, and yeah, I mean, dollar in this case is probably not the right symbol to use now that I think of it. Maybe something like 1 in braces, like round braces, probably. We just need it to look like sufficiently out of place that it it denotes that it's this specific like capturing group, right? So yeah, let's do that. So let's make it, whoop, okay. Let's make it such that I think I can, yeah, I can do that directly from here, right? Okay. So idiot. Okay. So it's just going to be like, he's just going to specify one in braces. That's the amount, right? The entirety of it really, just whatever was captured. The account he's going to select from the dropdown. So in this case, it's going to be credit card or quota credit card or whatever. The currency is INR in my case, and the comment we can pre-fill, right? So maybe we can write as on and specify 2 over here, right? So comma, if we specify this as the comment, what happens is pre-fill, right? So what happens is in the drop down from the top of the notification, it's gonna, in the comment box, we're gonna have on, when this SMS comes in, we're gonna have on 26 November, comma, and then we can write whatever we want, right? I made a Steam purchase, like, you know, I bought Titanfall 2, which I did do a couple of days ago. I don't know if, yeah, this is definitely not that purchase. Yeah, I mean, this was today. But we can write something, right? Purchased, you know, whatever, roasted turkey for dinner. So we can write whatever we want as the comment, and this will just sort of pre-fill it with whatever data we give here, because in this case this $2 is this thing, and of course the seller data is again going to be something which we can specify 3, which here it's just going to be the seller, right? And what else? Oh yeah. So finally the balance correction, which is going to be a field, right? I don't know if I can scroll down. Can I scroll down? Oh, okay. That's beautiful. Okay. I was not aware of that. Okay. So and finally we have balance correction, which is going to be 4 over here, which will essentially, because this app will keep track of your overall account balance, and the default, if it doesn't find a balance correction, right? If it doesn't find a balance correction, the default behavior is going to be that it takes the amount, which is essentially, let's just say you have like 1,000 rupees, right? And you make a transaction of 200 rupees, right? So it's like minus 200 is the amount which came in. It's minus 200, by the way. Oh yeah, maybe we have to specify that as well, whether it's a credit or a debit, because this amount is always, we will assume it's always going to be positive, right? So we will, yeah, we'll just assume that this amount is always, yeah, we'll just assume that this amount is always going to be positive. So if that's the case, yeah, if that's the case, we will need to specify one additional field here, like a sort of maybe a checkbox. I don't know if it should be a checkbox, maybe a radio button, actually, right? A radio button, like 2 specific options which specify whether it's a credit or a debit, right? So a credit means this amount should be counted as a positive, right? That this is an amount which was deposited in your account, while if debit is selected, it should be negative, right? Which is usually what's going to happen most of the time. You will mostly have debit transactions. A few will be credit, like your salary, or, you know, maybe your credit card payments or something like that. Someone else pays your credit card off for you. This has happened to me, weirdly enough, a couple of times. I don't know what paid it off, but as in it wasn't fully paid off. It was just some random amount, really, which got deposited into my credit card. I don't really understand how that happens. Anyway, I didn't question it. I just took it as a blessing from the heavens. Yeah, but we have 1,000. So the default behavior will be to subtract this and to display your balance as 800, right? So that's going to be the default behavior. But in case you have specified this, it's going to not do this calculation. It's not going to do this computation at all. And it is going to instead take this amount directly. And the reason for that is very simple. If you have multiple SMSs coming in, right, for a single transaction, and this happens, right, where you have some sort of a resend which happens from your bank or something like that, because, you know, it wasn't sent correctly the first time, or at least they assumed it wasn't sent correctly and they weren't sure whether you received it the first time. So if that's the case, you might have a transaction of $100, right? So you might have a transaction of $100 and that drops your total from 1,000 down to 900. And if the same SMS comes the second time, if we don't use the balance correction, what happens then is that this subtracts $100 again, and it now displays your balance as 800, which you can in the app go and manually correct, but that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass, right? So instead of that, we will use this balance correction wherever we have it. Like for example, in my case, for my SMS app, I do have this, right? I do have the credit limit, which is being sent to me as this 1234.56. As you can see over here, we can capture that information and we can actually keep this. We can actually keep this going forward. Like we can keep this in our filters. We can actually keep this. So yeah, so I think that's like a much better way to think about it, is that we have this particular thing that we define the first time, right? So of course, like you will have to essentially start somewhere, and you're not going to have transactions before a specific point, but you can just manually write in your balance. You can say that, oh, my credit limit right now, or my bank balance right now in the app. You can just specify that as whatever it is, right? And then after you define this regex and an SMS comes in, it's going to trigger this, and it's actually going to create a transaction based on this data. So all of these details are used to generate the transaction object. Cool. Yeah. So I think that's fairly clear. So at this point, we will sort of have information on all of these things, right? So this is going to be a part of our filter, right? This is going to be a part of our filter. I think this is really useful information that we can use going forward, right? I think this is like, yeah, I think that will fundamentally change the basis of how we work with this. Not by much, by the way. This is still going to be pretty similar. In this case, this is just going to be the filter, right? The parser is nothing but the filter that we apply. And the filter specifies the rules. So the rules, so this module isn't actually there. I just realized that this is kind of stupid, right? There's no module. The module does nothing. It's a meaningless word. What happens instead is that the notification comes in, event, right, comes in, which triggers, essentially, it triggers the rest of the workflow, and we extract the text from it, from the notification event. We extract the text of the notification, and we drop this into, yeah, so here from between this and this, we may kind of need a parser, right? And this is what is going to differ for every single different type of notification event. Like you can have an SMS notification, you can have an email notification, and we will have to define something to get text out of it. Just text, right? We just want this data. We just want this data, right? We want this, even, it doesn't matter where it came in from. It could have come in from email. We just want this data, right? So whenever a notification event comes in, we have a parser which basically shits out text, right? And now we take this text and we pass it to a filter, right? Which gives us a transaction. Cool. This is really the module that we're trying to make, is we are trying to come up with a filter, and the filter in this case is, now that I think of it, the filter in this case is agnostic. It is only specific. Like we will create a new instance of the filter for every single different type of text that comes in, but the filter itself, the functioning of the filter itself, is agnostic. That is, in other words, it doesn't give a fuck about where the text came from. The text could have come from literally anywhere. It doesn't matter, right? The context of the filter itself is that it triggers, and it is, yeah. So, and the parser will obviously have, like the SMS parser, for instance, will obviously have any filtering logic. Like we don't actually want to parse every single SMS, maybe, right? As I said, again, with SMSs, it really doesn't matter. With email, that'll become important, because we will have to filter by sender, because you could be getting thousands of email. You could theoretically be getting thousands of SMSs as well, but SMSs are processed locally. You don't actually have to go to the internet for them. So it's fine, right? It's fine. We can process every single SMS. It's the simple regular expression filter, at least, will work immediately. We don't have to worry about it. And it will produce a transaction, which we will use. Yeah, this kind of seems to work out for me. So this is a much better way of thinking about it, because this is a much better architecture, much better design. I think I should have started with this on day one. Like, I literally should have started with this at the very beginning. I don't know why I didn't do that, because most of the other shit that we did, like with the other pages, is, but I mean, it's useful. It's not like it's useless. It's useful, but it was kind of pointless. Like, this all goes into later parts of the code where we already have transactions which have been persisted in our database, and we really have to think about a user-friendly way, really, to query it, right? To be able to fetch that content out. But when I was thinking about it, I suddenly realized that, hey, none of that matters if we can't actually get the data, which is really the first thing that we should be doing, out of the SMSs, out of the emails, out of whatever source we are trying to define. And that's a nice part about it. This can be a separate plugin, really, that we can sort of engineer into the app, such that you can just specify any plugin, really, as long as it returns text when a notification comes in. So we should be able to program pretty much anything there. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Like, I don't think I should start writing software at 11. And again, it's kind of sad that, the way my time works is like most of my streams start so late. I don't know. I've been trying to do morning streams. It's not been easy, because for the most part I wake up super late because I sleep super late. So I kind of have to fix that whole cycle starting from the end right there. My brain goes on this weird 5-hour self-gratification cycle after I end my work. I've measured it, by the way. It seems to be very dangerously close to 5 hours. Like, after I stop working, I just kind of have to unwind, sort of, fuck around for many hours, way too many hours, in my opinion. And it so happens that I'm not able to shut my brain off and go to sleep until I've just I don't know, done aimless, mindless shit for a long time. So the problem is, usually what happens with that is that it pushes my sleep to fairly late hours, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I end up waking up super late. And, usually after I wake up, I just have to start working again. So, yeah, so I don't know what the long-term fix for that is. To start with, I'll try to force myself to kind of, start streaming in the morning. I know I said in an earlier stream that if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't force yourself to do it, but I do want to do this. I do want to have more sort of regular streams and kind of do it at a time where my brain works a little bit better. But for the most part, I think we've been doing fairly well today. Like, I think that we have some progress, at least on the design front. Like, this is very solid, by the way. Like, I would say that this kind of gives me a full idea of exactly how to proceed, that I can actually start defining the context of a filter and try to understand, like, the architecture of it from the code directly at this point. Like, I don't actually have to, fuck around with pseudocode anymore. It is something that's fairly clear, because it's just something that transfers. It's just something that has some definitions inside it that the user creates once, and all it does is it pulls in text and converts it into a transaction. So once we start with that kind of basic definition, that because that's really all of what programming is, right? That's really all of what computer science. I wouldn't say all of computer science. I don't think I'm qualified enough to speak on that front. I am a certified computer scientist, as per my degree, but at the same time, like, I haven't really been doing this for super long. I don't do theoretical computer science at all. So I don't think I should be talking about that. But really, if you think about it, that's really all computers are, right? At its fundamental core, that's all they do. It's just a set of rules that take some inputs and transform it into certain outputs, and they do nothing else, right? That's just it. It's like you define some rules that take an input, which is a defined set of inputs that it accepts, and it uses those rules to transform those inputs into some defined set of outputs that it knows. That's pretty much all a computer does. When you press a key on your keyboard, that's exactly what is happening. Your input is the force of your finger on a keystroke, and that's essentially going to activate an electrical circuit which fires off a signal, which goes through a lot of processing into your system, and your operating system sort of knows how to map that specific unique signal coming from that key to a specific character glyph, to some specific model of a character that it has, like an alphabet, right? Or whatever, a symbol that it has within its configuration. And it knows that. And it also knows how to interface with the monitor using the monitor's drivers. And it kind of goes like, okay, this is what you have to display. This is the glyph that I want you to show. These are the pixels that I want you to turn black, or in this case, white, because I use dark theme. But it basically just has all those instructions, and really what is happening is it's transferring an input, which was this basic electrical signal that started when you hit a key, into some maybe more complex output, which is the alphabet itself appearing on the screen. And that's really what all of computing really is, right? It's just a set of calculations. It's just a set of transformations from input to output. And once we have that kind of basic idea in mind, once we have that kind of basic structure, that basic framework, that's what the filter is, right? In this case, it's just going to take some text and convert it into a transaction, right? And I shall capitalize the letter F for filter because that's a concept within our application. It's a module now, right? So when we're going to write the classes, when we're going to write the interfaces for how this filter functions, it's going to be more than one class, more than one interface, because there are a bunch of other things, right? Like the rules for transforming it into a transaction are like just one part of it, but it has to store the regex and a couple of other things. So but that's all it is, right? The text goes through a regex, we get capturing groups out, and with the capturing groups, we can essentially define a set of rules on how to slot those into a transaction. And once we've defined the functionality of each of these different pieces, we will have a working filter, which we can then just interface with the Android part of it. So that will be most of the core of Plutus done. Straightforward, in my opinion. I don't think it's very complicated. So we are, I think we can just sort of stop the stream here. I'm sorry, I just remembered that I haven't had music on for the entirety of the stream. I don't know if you guys care. I don't know if anyone cares really, but I mean, in a way that might be better. If you need music, you can always play something of your own in the background, just kind of reduce the volume of the stream, up the volume of the music, whatever you want, right? So that's fine. That's always something you can do. More freedom to you. That's also why I usually play the music, which I'm keeping at a much lower volume than the volume at which I'm speaking. I just try to adjust it to the point where it is audible in the background, but not by much. But yeah, today I kind of forgot to enable the music, and it's been nearly an hour, just 3 minutes shy of an hour. And I think we can sort of end the stream here. We do have a design to get started with. We do have something. My head is buzzing with ideas now. This was great. This was actually great. I didn't expect to do this much progress today. So that's pretty much it. I will be exporting these to YouTube the moment I get the chance. What else do I have? Anything else I wanted to say? Nothing much, I guess. Happy Thanksgiving. We will definitely see each other tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow because tomorrow is a Friday, which means that I will be freed of the shackles of work a little bit earlier, hopefully, than usual, because folks will be going offline, and that would mean that I just don't have anything more to do. So hopefully we can have a longer stream then. So I'll try to stream in the morning. But maybe most likely I'll be starting that only on the weekend. Like, let me just see. Let's do a test. Let's do a trial of it on Saturday, maybe Saturday morning. We'll stream in the morning, and we'll probably stream for longer hours, right? Let's just keep it like 3-4 hours maybe. So, okay. So that's pretty much it. See you. I'll see you guys on the next one.